All right. Happy Wednesday night to you. It's great to have you here. We are going to we're going to hop right into it. Um, as many of you know, there are some things that when you talk about them, they just get more muddled. Just get more confusing. And there's just simply some things that we want to talk about that um, it's better to experience first and then talk about later. The topic tonight is connecting with, experiencing the reality that exists behind the appearance, right? Can you get that kind of idea that there is an appearance, but there is a reality behind it? And for the most part, as human beings, we are very identified with, tuned into only the appearance and not the reality behind the appearance. So this makes a huge difference, as we will talk about afterwards. If I'm not careful, I'm going to start talking about it. So let's go into meditation. Now, if you're just joining us on YouTube, I want you to feel like you're a part of this. The heart knows no boundaries, no limitations with time and space. And so I know that there are many of you that watch these videos later on YouTube, and so you're most welcome, but I want you to feel that you're a part of the energy field of this live class. And that's the first thing I want all of us to do is take a nice deep breath, close your eyes, and let your energy field open up. Let your heart open up to the possibility of experiencing that you are a part of something larger than yourself. Our conditioned mind is it's very identified with form, with the appearance. So we think of ourselves as these bodies that are kind of sheltered in place in our own homes. And as we do many times in this class, I want you just to be open to the possibility that you can experience beyond the limitations of the body, beyond the limitations of the senses. You would experience this through the senses, so to speak, of the soul, of your higher self. Physical senses are for experiencing and interacting with the external world, the world of form and phenomena, the appearance. It's wonderful, it's necessary, it's purposeful. But there is a reality that goes far beyond what the physical senses can sense, see, feel, taste, touch. So just at your heart, the possibility of feeling some sense of connection with everybody else who's here tonight. There is live here tonight, there's 25 of us. And you don't have to try to see their faces or whatever, just feel the presence of a larger body, a larger being that we help to make up. There's a field of intention. And you are part of it, and I am part of it. And your soul and my soul will make use of this intention and make use of this felt sense of connection to help the personality self experience something that's beyond its conditioning. Now, again, just to remind you the terms, the personality self is made up of the physical body, the emotional body, and the lower mental body. It is the part of us that has a name and a form and a history, has preferences, it's pushing agendas, it likes this, it doesn't like that. It's not good or bad, it's a very important aspect of this journey. It's just that there is a profound and magnificent sense of self beyond the personality self. As a psychotherapist, both in my own personal life and working with people for the last 30 years, one of the main things I'm working with is shame. Shame is the sense that there's something wrong with me, there's something lacking, I'm not enough, not this enough, not that enough. And if you knew that, you would probably reject me. What I've come to understand is that the true healing of shame on every level only takes place as we begin to understand ourselves to be soul beyond the personality. So that's one thing that we're going to seek to experience tonight is what's called soul alignment. Soul is the reality behind the appearance. Don't think of your soul as limited to just something that's operating in this personality. Soul is a part of a larger reality, a larger, we could say, universal self. Souls are expressions, extensions, manifestations of that universal self. All right, so enough of the concepts and words. What I'd like you to do for a moment is just let your breath become slower and fuller and deeper. And let concentration on breath help to center you more and more in your experience, bring you back from life in the world, life throughout this day, whatever you've done, wherever you've been. Let concentration on breath more and more bring you into the present moment. It's impossible to connect with and align with the reality behind the appearance if we're not utterly grounded in the present moment. Because the past and future are mental concepts. Only the eternal now is real. So just make the breath slower and fuller and deeper. Let breath pour into the belly, so to speak. Rise up into and through the ribs and all the way up into the shoulders. But doing this in a way where there's no strain. When we breathe in this way, we take in more oxygen, obviously, but we're also taking in more prana, more chi, life energy. So the oxygen and the chi nourishes the personality on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally. Has a purification effect, a centering effect, a quieting effect. I would encourage you every day to spend a little time slowing your breath down, breathing more deeply and fully. It's a great idea to begin all your spiritual practices with a bit of this. Now, we're going to become a little more specific with our breathing. I'd like you to breathe in a very specific way. I'd like it to be full and deep as you're practicing. But now, excuse me, I'd like you to inhale in through your nose and down all the way to your root chakra, right at the perineum, pelvic floor. Your inhalation comes in through the nose You can feel it in your throat, take it down through the chakric system, the central channel, down to the root chakra. That's your inhalation. Pause there for a moment at the top of your inhalation and just allow some energy to develop in the root chakra. And then as you exhale, bring that energy up into the heart and breathe it out in all directions. In through the nose and down to the root chakra. And then as you exhale, bring that energy up to the heart and breathe it out in all directions simultaneously, like radiantly, breathing out of the heart center radiantly in all directions. We're going to keep this going for a bit. This is a lovely chakra clearing tool and a way to help raise consciousness from the lower chakras up into the heart center. Take your time, slow the breath down so you can really take your time feeling the energy come in and directing it downward through the central channel into the root chakra. Pause, let the energy build, and then take your time exhaling, breathing that energy up into the heart center, finishing the exhalation off with this sense of the breath being breathed radiantly out in all directions. It's necessary to clean the system out, to raise our vibration, to raise, to come up higher into the chakric system. So these things are necessary for us to really have a felt sense and experience a meaningful glimpse of the reality behind the appearance. Now, with your next inhalation, do the same thing. Bring it all the way down to the root chakra. But now, as you exhale, bring that energy up past the heart, through the throat, up into the head. And now breathe your energy out of the head and radiantly in all directions. Have a feel that the energy that you bring up into the head center lights the head up, makes it full of light. Breathe that light out in all directions. We light these higher centers up to be able to see, feel, experience, glimpse the reality behind the appearance. When we say appearance, we're talking about more than just the ego, more than just the body mind. We're talking about everything that the body mind perceives to be real, all form and phenomena. The trees outside of your window, the chair that you're sitting on, the room that you're sitting in, the sun as it rises and sets, All these are part of the appearance. There is a reality behind the appearance. A little longer, keep breathing in this way, in and down, out and up. Can you feel the subtle ways in which it's different to breathe it all the way up into the head compared to breathing it up and out of the heart? Now, let's do 2 more full breaths. Bring it back down to the heart. In and down to the root chakra, and then up and out the heart center. Do that 2 more times. And then rest in your heart center. Notice the effect of the practice. See if you can notice if there is a sense of stillness and silence here. When the mind is quiet, even just for a moment, we have a better opportunity to experience the reality behind the appearance. Don't look for anything in particular. Don't look for something spectacular. It's right here in your experience all the time. A stillness that feels like a larger field of stillness. Silence that feels like it's part of a larger field of silence. And the awareness that is perceiving it. These are all hints of the reality behind the appearance. So now you're in the heart center, center of your chest. Have a sense that the heart center is open, unclenched. Begin to move your awareness deeper into the heart, back toward the back of the body, as it were. But again, the heart center is not limited to the body. Just a sense of moving deeper into your heart center, which is your core. Notice that as you move deeper into the heart center, there is perhaps a growing sense of stillness and silence. Or you may sense that things begin to open up the deeper you go. Or there may be none of that at this moment, and that's totally fine. Nothing to force, no special thing to pursue here. I'll give you these next instructions, but don't try to figure them out with your mind. The heart knows how to do this. Awareness knows how to do this. Deeper into the heart you go until you come to the back of your heart center and step through beyond the heart center, behind the heart center, into what we call the luminous space behind the heart. As though stepping through an open portal at the back of the heart center. Stepping back into the space behind the heart center and noticing what you notice. A greater sense of spaciousness, perhaps. A sense of all-pervasive light. Deep peace and tranquility. And in contrast to what we normally experience in the personality, here in the space behind the heart, in soul consciousness, there is a complete freedom from fear. A complete freedom from any sense of lack. And therefore a complete freedom from shame. Here in the luminous space behind the heart, let yourself stretch out, expand out in all directions to notice that there is no boundary here. There is no boundary where you come to an end and something else begins. See if you can notice this. No matter how far out your awareness stretches, it is always in itself. Just resting back in this vast field of light. This field of light is not like space that the eyes or ears perceive. This is the field of living consciousness. Living consciousness, universal consciousness, supreme consciousness. And everything in manifestation, everything in creation is held in the womb of this great universal or divine consciousness. Everything in creation comes to be, runs its course, and dissolves back into this great field of universal consciousness. Best you can, just let the mind be still. Now, if the mind pulls you out of this, as it's likely to try to do, just go through the steps of moving through the heart center, stepping through the portal, back into the space behind the heart, this luminous field of pure consciousness. And hang out here and let this field of consciousness reveal itself to you. For a bit, if it hasn't already happened, just let the sense that you are a body dissolve away. Let the sense of the body itself just dissolve into this luminous field. You can come back to it. The body is actually already, always made of light, as everything else is at the level of appearance. So let the body just return to its natural state of light. And abide in your nature as love consciousness, unity, love consciousness. Don't strive after a certain experience. Just relax into the experience you're having. Fall back into this luminous space behind the heart even more. Let yourself go. Forget about yourself. Nothing to figure out. No striving. Just rest back in being, pure being. Just keep letting go of yourself. Recognize yourself as pure awareness. This universal field of consciousness, aware of itself. Abide in the tranquility, the equanimity, the sense of wholeness. You are pure awareness. Named in the Hindu scriptures Satchidananda, truth, existence, consciousness, and bliss. There is no conflict at this level. There is no sense of separation. No individual agendas locked into conflict, not at this level. Wholeness and pure love. Love without an object. Love as a state of being. Now imagine that this infinite field of pure light and love and intelligence could focus itself down into an individualized form that you know as your body and mind. Begin to be interested again in the personality self and the levels of physical, emotional, and mental. And the activity there in the body, just with curiosity and great compassion. Don't forget who you are, this open field of pure awareness and love. Just bringing its curious awareness into form as the personality that you have come to know as yourself. But now, hopefully, you can see that you're so much more than that. And yet at the same time, operating in and through this form in the world. Now, just imagine, without opening your eyes, let the awareness that you are look out into your surroundings, the room, again, not with your physical eyes, but with the eyes of awareness. Perceive the room that you're sitting in, the house, the neighborhood, all as being expressions of light. That light is the matrix, the creative ground and matrix that all form and phenomena is built upon. With the eyes of awareness, you see all trees and buildings, all people, everything in creation. To be an expression of this one field of light, of infinite intelligence and love. It is not as the personality perceives a world of separation. What creates and sustains everything, including all people in the world, is a singular field, a pure creative love consciousness. And everything that's happening in the world, everything that's happening in the level of form and phenomena, is happening for the express purpose of bringing us back to the realization of who and what we actually already are and have always been. This universal field of pure light and love and intelligence. So visualize this body that you're sitting in as vibrating with light. The light is so subtle, so refined, that the physical eyes can't perceive it. That doesn't make it unreal. There are many, many things that our physical eyes can't perceive that we already know to be real. It's why we're washing our hands. Even though your physical eyes can't see what needs to be washed off. See the body vibrating with this subtle light. Feel the vibration of love in the emotional body. Feel the vibration from this unified field. Feel the vibration of love vibrating in your emotional body, touching everything that's unlike that vibration that currently exists in the emotional body. Feel the vibration of truth in the mental body. The truth behind the stories that mind has made of who we are and what we must do to survive. Feel the mind vibrate with the truth that sets us free. Not necessarily as a concept, but as light, freedom, infinite intelligence. The ability to see through the illusions, to know the oneness behind the multiplicity, to know the love behind the fear, the peace behind the chaos and disharmony. Settle into the body and breathe now. A fuller, deeper breath like we started off with. Feel how the body is being supported by the couch or the chair that you're in, while at the same time have the intention of staying connected with the reality behind the appearance, so that you can acknowledge both. We're not trying to deny one or the other, say one is good and the other is bad. That's not at all what we're doing here. We're just trying to see the nature of things as they are and embrace them with the same love and acceptance that comes from the reality behind the appearance. Accepting things as they are, trusting their purpose, realizing that our suffering has always come because we have not felt our connection to this field of love and light, haven't felt our connection to spirit. That's why we suffer, not because of what's going on in the dimension of form and phenomenon, but because we don't feel, sense, and acknowledge the reality behind the appearance. That's why we suffer. So a couple of more nice deep breaths. And when you're ready, begin to open your eyes. And as we've practiced in the past, just look around the room, but look as though from this infinite field of awareness and love. Try not to snap right back into a sense of a separate self. But even though this body is in this room and in this home, there is a sense of connection to everyone else who's here tonight. And our loved ones and our friends and our neighbors and our world. So I'd like to give you a chance to ask some questions or express any comments that you might have as a result of our time tonight. I want to just say this, there's in most spiritual traditions, there is the contrast between truth and illusion. And some traditions would say that what we're living in is illusion and isn't really real. I would define illusion as living in form without a felt sense of or acknowledgement of the reality behind form, the infinite intelligence and love and light that exists, that manifests all form and phenomena and infuses it. So illusion is living as though that doesn't exist. And living as though that doesn't exist is living like a separate self, a scared separate self, a scared, struggling, suffering separate self. There's a lot of S's there. That's how we live when we don't feel our connection to the reality behind the appearance. And we can see in the world that what is desperately needed is a felt sense of connection to this dimension of infinite intelligence and love, and to allow that to infuse into the personality and to operate through the personality in the world to make great, deep, global changes. I believe that the changes that must be made can only be made from that infinite intelligence as it operates through our personalities. All right, do you have a question? If you have a question, unmute yourself and ask away.
Yes, this is Sherry.
Hi.
I had when I got back into that place, I found Mother Mary sitting in there. First came the pain, of course, in the chest, and then she would fade, and Kuan Yin would come forth, and then Mother Mary. And is that illusion?
What do you think?
Didn't feel like illusion to me. I didn't think of illusion till you said the word.
No, I don't believe that is. I believe that's that's you tuning in to, let me say it like this. This infinite field, is what we often call God. Many of us grew up in traditions that think of God as a separate entity somewhere, right? And it's not until later, if we have, the great blessing to receive deeper understanding and experience of the divine as the infinite field that manifests all things and infuses all things. There is no separation. Nevertheless, the mind that is so used to thinking in terms of separation is greatly blessed by having that field manifest in a form it can relate to. This is why God has manifested in human form in these great avatars that have formed all the world's traditions, and the Krishna and the Buddha and the Jesus and so forth. These are the great avatars. These are living embodiments of divine consciousness, and human minds need that, because until we begin to experience it and the mind becomes more refined, it's very difficult to experience the divine in a satisfying way in the impersonal nature of the field. It's so abstract to the mind. So then all of these forms that capture the mind's attention and warm the heart, and we feel the presence of God, like Kuan Yin and Mother Mary, these are very, very real. They're not separate entities. They are expressions of the divine that your mind and my mind can grasp and be drawn more into a love relationship, with a devotional relationship with the reality behind the appearance. So it's often in our prayers and in our meditations, in our spiritual practices, to the extent that the mind can get very, very quiet, that we begin to experience these profound manifestations of divine consciousness. It's there that we feel the presence of the angelic kingdom, and we feel the presence of the great masters that have gone before us and showed us the way. These are all knowable in this great field. Thank you so much for sharing that, Cherie.
This may seem prosaic compared to what was just spoken about, but I was torn between another performance and coming to you tonight. And it was a performance of a young musician I've just met named Anthony Arya, A-R-Y-A. And he was performing in Capitola on an outside twilight stage with no one there. Maybe 2 people, okay? And that is the nature of what a musician has to do now.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely inspired by how he seems to be part of something,
Yes.
right? I don't know what it is. It's no doubt not what I am, because he's a musician and he hears music and all kinds of stuff. But it wasn't different. It felt like he was giving it to me. He was open. It was not forced. If you don't like this tune, wait for the next one, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now. It was just, it felt the same.
Beautiful. That music, when it comes like that, it comes from the field. And musicians are able to channel that. Artists, writers, you can, like for instance, when I first read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, I knew I was getting words directly from the field. You can feel it, right? That's what scripture is. Scripture, anything that's inspired comes directly from the field. I think it was Handel that talked about, as he was trying to write out the Messiah, this incredible masterpiece. Like he said, he was hearing the music come through, and his fingers could hardly keep up with it. Right? It's coming from the field. Leonardo da Vinci talked about this stuff, like his inspiration coming from this great field. Albert Einstein acknowledges that his great insights into the nature of form and phenomena came directly from this inspiration, came from the field.
But I'll add that what you're teaching us is that we don't have to achieve Leonardo da Vinci to do this.
That's right.
To connect.
That's right. That's right. Because that's what all the great ones have told us, is that what they are, we are becoming. We have access to everything they had access to, or everything they were a manifestation of. But we have to begin to get some glimpses of it, and that takes practice. and practice ultimately leads us beyond the limitations of our conditioned mind that say, oh, I'm nobody, I'm nothing, I'm a speck of dust, I don't deserve, I don't believe, all of those limitations of the mind. And our practices help us to get beyond those limitations and to experience what can be experienced as we continue, as consciousness here continues to grow and evolve. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else have a question or a comment? I can't see you.
I have a comment.
Oh, good. Hi, Connie.
Hi there. I don't have a question. I just really wanted to thank you for that meditation, because that's the first time I was able to let go of myself without feeling like I was going to dissolve into non-existence.
Obliteration.
Yes, the Abhinavesha. Just letting go of yourself.
Yes, in order to find yourself.
And it was so amazing to be who I am without a body, and just to be.
Yes.
And of all these years of classes, I finally flew. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Connie. So it's very interesting. It's kind of a play on words, but it's much more than that. We let go of ourself in order to find ourself. We let go of the little self in order to discover the true self, right? And at first, as you're describing, and as we've talked about many times in class, at first that can feel kind of scary, right? Like I'm like dissolving into oblivion, and that's not at all how it is. We find our true home when we let go of identification with the personality. Not that there's anything wrong with the personality. The personality is necessary. We're in these personalities for a reason. They are our evolutionary vehicle. So they're extremely important and beautiful. We want to take care of them and value them and maintenance them and, so forth. But they're not our identity. So it's in meditations like this that we can drop that identity and begin to like literally awaken to a truer identity of unity and love. Thank you. Anyone else want to ask a question or make a comment before we close? So here's a comment given to me on the chat function. I understand a deeper level. Past and future are mental constructs. Another layer of the transparencies have been lifted. Thank you. Beautiful. She's referring to my favorite metaphor, the overhead projector, right? The transparencies that block the light sooner or later. And so yes, past and future are mental constructs. They don't exist. It's not, again, that they're bad. They're important in these personalities, that we're going to work with them, but they don't actually exist in real time. There's only the eternal now. And our spiritual practices bring us into the eternal now so that we can experience the reality behind the appearance. Wonderful.
Scott,
Yes, please.
I wanted to share that I had the experience that when I went within my heart chamber, I was looking at myself as a young girl, and it was so bright, I had my hands up. And I got older, but not much older. I became a young woman. But that would normally be something critical would come up for me, but it wasn't there.
Beautiful.
So it was a real gift.
Beautiful, beautiful. So a complete lack of criticism, huh? An embracing of that. Beautiful.
And
Thank
so
you.
bright.
So bright, you saying?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else before we're done? All right, I'm going to return the recording off and then ask you one last question.